In Lewis Carroll's famous tale, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, there's that classic scene where Alice walks up to the Cheshire Cat who's sitting in the tree and she asks him, "What road do I take?" And he asks a very logical question. "Well, where do you want to go?" And she says, "I don't know." And then the Cheshire Cat says, "Well, then it doesn't quite matter which road you take, does it?" This is where so many of us are. We want direction and clarity on where to go, what to do next. But we have no clue as to where we want to end up. We have no vision for our lives. Today's episode, I want to walk you through one of the most powerful questions you could ask yourself, give you a journal prompt that you can noodle on after this episode's done to get more clarity on what you want out of life and where you uniquely and specifically want to go. I call it the best 3 years of your life framework, and we got to dive in. Friend, we are 1 week away from the release of my brand new book, Rebel, Find Yourself by Not Following the Crowd. Full disclosure, this is not a business book. This is a you book. This is a book about you, helping you get back to who you truly are, getting clarity on what you want out of life, and then living fully and authentically as the real you in all areas of life, in your business, in your relationships, in the way you manage your time and your money, your health, your spirituality. Like, this is way bigger than just business. But all my best business clients are doing this deep inner work, finding themselves so they can leverage their uniqueness in their business. And today we got to talk about one of those important steps, which is step 2 in the 5-part Rebel framework that I teach in the book. It's all about vision. If you haven't pre-ordered the book, friend, just stop what you're doing and do me a favor. If I've ever added any value to you in your life, go over to therebelbook.com. I'm going to link to it in the show notes and below the video here on YouTube, and pre-order a copy for yourself and a friend. Think of it as a tip for me. So say, hey, thanks for the free stuff for the last 15 years, okay? It's going to change your life. The book is incredible. I've made it as action-oriented and as tight as possible. It's a quick read. John Gordon, the world-class author and speaker, not only endorsed it, but wrote the foreword. In honor of John, it is a short, fast read, so you can get on with actually doing the book. And if you pre-order the book, I'm going to give you over $400 worth of pre-order bonuses as an incentive to pre-order the book. Go over to therebelbook.com, do this before launch week, which is next week, and get your copy now so you can get all those bonuses now, and you can apply all this stuff even before you get the book in your hands. Okay, so please, therebelbook.com. You can pre-order the book at whatever store you like, but bring your receipt to therebelbook.com, enter the receipt number there, order confirmation number there, and that's when you're going to get access to those bonuses immediately. I'm super excited. This has been a long time coming, and it's going to tie in with what I give you today. But let's dive into vision. And I talk about this in the book, but my wife and I built a custom home a few years ago, and we worked with an incredible builder, and it was a really good experience. Overwhelming, but really good experience. But I remember when we were about to build the house, we set up a little Google Doc, a little one-pager of like, hey, what do we want in our house? And we knew what we wanted in our heads, but we wanted to get some of it on paper, and so we just started to write out a bullet list of things we wanted. And it included things like we want to be on the water, we want to have like the master bedroom on the back of the house so we can overlook the water. We want to have a certain square footage. We want to have a pool. We want to have modern Mediterranean style. So we're thinking like white stucco with some black accents. Like we had all the things we wanted. We wanted to be within a certain distance of the kids' school, et cetera, et cetera. So we had this one pager and we used that as a jumping off point. Now, we could have given that one pager to the builder and said, hey, build this. And what's crazy is that they could have built something really awesome just off that one-page Google Doc. The question, though, is would they have built exactly what we imagined in our heads? No, it would be impossible because we didn't give them an actual blueprint. We just gave them a one-pager of bullet points of things that we wanted. We had clarity on some things we wanted, but not clarity on the specifics. We didn't give them the specifics, so they would have built something great, arguably beautiful, arguably functional, and we could have learned to love it and be content with it, but we would have secretly resented it because it's not what we imagined in our heads. Friend, this is how we live our lives. We have some big rock ideas of things we want to be true. Hopefully, some of us don't, but hopefully you have some dreams in your heart. You have some things you know you want to be true in your life. but they're still general and they're ill-formed. And so you go through life and you're wondering, hey, why am I not satisfied? Why am I unfulfilled? Why am I disappointed? Arguably, my life is pretty good. You might be in a season where life is, by definition, good, and other people would say, oh, I wish I had your life, but you don't love your life. And there's actually no shame in that, because it may not be the exact life you wanted to create because you didn't have a specific vision. Now, what did we end up when we built that house? We didn't give them a one-pager and hope for the best, although we could have had a great house. It just wouldn't have been the house we wanted. It wouldn't have been our dream house. No, we ended up creating a 29-page architectural plan, a site plan, a building plan. It had 3D renderings. It had everything down to the inch of where the walls are, how many inches the faucets would be above the sink. Not 4 inches, but 5 inches. So you have a little bit more room to wash your hands. Like, these are specific things. The exact tile, the exact flooring, the exact fridge we wanted, where we wanted, the shape of the windows. Do you understand? Right? We created this massive detailed blueprint. So then when we gave that to the builders, we worked on it with the builders and with an architect. When the house was done and we got the keys and we moved in, it was exactly what we thought. There were no surprises. It was exactly what we pictured, because we had specific details. We had a vision. Makes sense, right? In the Bible, King Solomon wrote years and years ago, where there is no vision, the people perish. Now, the word for perish in the Aramaic language means to be empty or void. So you could read that passage another way and say, where there is no vision, your life is empty. Where there is no vision, your life is void. Where there is no vision, your life is vacant. And think about vacancies for a moment, right? If you have a short-term rental property or an Airbnb and there's a vacancy, it's vacant, well, that means it's empty. That means someone can come in and live there and fill that vacancy. If your life is without vision, therefore your life is vacant, it is a giant hole waiting to be filled by other people's vision for your life. It might be your mom and dad's vision for your life. It might be your spouse's vision for your life. It might be your friend's vision for your life. It might be the government's vision for your life. Everyone's got a vision for your life, and there may not be any ill intent or malicious activity there. It just, they see emptiness and they want to fill it with what they think your life should look like. But how's that going to turn out for you? They aren't you. They don't have the same dreams you have. They don't have the same visions you have. So you're going to go through life living someone else's vision for your life and wonder, why am I not satisfied? Why am I not fulfilled? Why am I not having a lot of impact? We do this in business. We have a giant void, a vacancy in the vision for our business, so we fill it with someone else's vision for what business should look like. And we go through our days building a business that's not actually the business we want to build. It might even be monetarily successful. It might be successful in terms of the impact it has with the amount of people it reaches, but you might hate it because it's not the vision of the business you wanted. But this is what's going to happen if you leave a vacancy in the whole of your life. It's your job to fill that vacancy, to fill that void with a clear vision that you have, that you want, so that that becomes a reality, not someone else's vision. Tracking with me? Okay, so in Rebel, we are walking through this process of saying, hey, the world's going one way, conformity is going one way. We're not going to do that. We're going to be different, not for the sake of being different. We are going to decide, hey, what do I want out of life? And we're going to go chase that. And it starts with dreaming. That's the most important step. And so there's an entire exercise in the book that I call my 50 Dreams exercise. You got to do that first. But once you've done that, step 2 is to establish the outcomes you want in life. And we do that through creating a vision. And I'm doing that primarily through one of the most powerful questions I've ever heard from my friend. He's a coach, Rich Litvin. I've worked with him before. He has this beautiful question. And here's the scenario. You and I bump into each other 3 years from now. Maybe we're on a plane. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're at a conference together. You come up to me after a speaking engagement. We bump into each other at a coffee shop or a donut place. I'm good with all of these, right? And I say, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in 3 years. How the heck are you? And you say, Graham, this has been the best 3 years of my life. And I say, that's amazing. Let's grab a drink. Let's grab a donut. Let's grab a coffee. Sit down. Tell me about that. What would you be telling me about? What would have to be true for you to tell me with all authenticity and sincerity that it has been the best 3 years of your life. Your job is to get out a piece of paper, maybe do it right now, maybe pause this, and start to write this down. What comes up for you? What comes up for you? Now, what I love about this journal prompt or this question is 3 things. Number 1, I love the 3-year time frame. If we think about vision, if you're a planner, I test very high as futuristic on the strength finders. That's my number 1 highest strength on strength finders. I love to look at the future, reverse engineer it, make something happen. If you're that kind of person, or even if you're not, you're like, oh, I'm going to try to make a vision for my life. A lot of times people say, what's your 10-year plan? 10-year plan? I don't even know who I'm going to be in 10 years. Do you? Are you anything like who you were 10 years ago? I mean, that was a lifetime ago. I can't really predict with any ounce of accuracy what's going to be happening in my life 10 years from now. So it's just too far to have any clarity on your vision. And also, it's almost too far for most human beings, most normal human beings, to have any motivation to move towards those 10-year goals. It's just so far down the road, there's no urgency. On the flip side, I kind of love 1-year goals like New Year's resolutions. Like, this is the year I'm going to get in shape. I love those for urgency, motivation, high urgency, because like, I'm going to change my life this year. I don't love them because you don't really tend to change your life in 1 year, right? Tony Robbins famously said people tend to overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. He's right. But not only do you overestimate, you're going to fall off the bandwagon, you're going to get discouraged, and then you're going to quit. That's what happens statistically to most people. So I don't like the 1 year. You can have 1-year goals, but the 1-year vision it's too soon. But 3 years, and this is when I heard Rich frame it this way as a 3-year question. I was like, oh, that's magical, because 3 years is close enough to my real life that I can imagine what the season of life looks like. It's close enough to my current season that I can imagine the age of my kids. I can imagine kind of what's happening in business and life, because there are even some things that are in motion now that are going to show up in 2 to 3 years. So it's close enough that I can start to imagine and predict with some level of accuracy what might be possible and true in 3 years. It's also close enough that I'm motivated to pursue it. 3 years is going to come quick. But at the same time, you and I both know we can do some major damage in 36 months. You can completely transform your body in 36 months. You can completely transform your marriage in 36 months. You can completely transform your business in 36 months. So there's something powerful about the 3-year time frame. What I also love about this question is that it's past tense. I'm not saying, what do you hope is going to happen in 3 years? That's not what I said. I said, we bump into each other in 3 years, and I ask you, how have you been? And you say, Graham, this has been the best 3 years of my life. And I'm like, tell me about that. You communicating that to me in this fictional conversation in past tense creates new neural pathways. You are starting to tap into the imagination, which I talked a little bit about last week with my wait morning method. The I in wait is imagination. You're starting to see your situation from a different angle, from past tense and 3 years in the future. And so it forces you to get creative, and it forces you to say it out loud or write it down in paper, even better, as if it's already happened, which is so profound and so powerful. And finally, what I love about this question is that it's open-ended. I'm not saying, tell me how it's been the best 3 years of your life in your business or in your marriage, or how much weight have you lost in 3 years? I'm not leading you in the question. When I just ask the question, how the heck are you? You say it's been the best 3 years of my life. I'm like, tell me more about that. Whatever comes up for you is what that still small voice in your heart wants to be true. It gives you a chance for your subconscious to kind of wave its hand and speak up and say, hey, this is what I value. This is what I care about. It gives you an opportunity to pay attention. If you sit with the question long enough in a quiet place with your journal or your Google Doc or your Notes app or whatever, your Remarkable whatever, and you start to journal this out, it lets what you want to be true come up to the surface. I have clients do this all the time. One of the first exercises I have them do when we work together is this best 3 years framework. And what's often true is they come to me, they'll hire me and say, hey, I want you to help me make more money in my business. And I even had one client, I remember specifically, he wanted to make $100,000 a month in his business. That's what I want to have happen. I said, hey, great goal. Great goal. But why don't you go do this exercise first and then come back and let's review it. So he goes and does the exercise, comes back next week, and we review what he wrote, what his answers were. And he starts to share it with me, and he says, man, you know what was so fascinating to me is what came up for me was not what I expected. Nothing about money came up. The only things that came up for me were about moving closer to the beach, having my wife work with me in the company so she can be home and she can homeschool our kids and we can work together in the house. And we get to go on bike rides and walks on the beach every day. And I'm able to replace a car. I'm able to live in a slightly nicer house. Like, it was just some specific things. And he's like, and I realized I don't need $100,000 a month to pull that off. I could actually go execute that vision now. I don't even have to wait 3 years. So he sold his house and moved to Florida. The rest is history. He's living that vision now. It took less than 6 months. So it's a fascinating exercise to see, what do you truly value? And this is so important, especially if you're a business owner. There are so many gurus out there telling you this is what business should look like. This is what you should do every day in your business. You need to delegate, you need to hire, you need to spend this, you need to run ads, you need to do this. Says who? Says them. What do they know? They're not you. The problem with business advice is that it's this cookie cutter advice. And the same is true for me. Like, when I'm giving you advice, I'm giving you what I know has worked for the type of business I'm building. But if what I build and what I value doesn't match up with your vision, my advice isn't going to be the most helpful for you. That's why my high ticket clients that work with me for me to coach them in their businesses, they're paying me a lot of money not to give them curriculum. They don't want curriculum. They want me to help support them in executing their vision. So everything is custom. Everything is me listening to them and helping them change their thoughts, think differently, give them insight, consult in specifics. I might review their copy, I might review their website, we might review their messaging, challenge them, and give them some tools and steps to make their vision a reality. But it's all about their vision. So if you're a business owner, you got to have a really clear vision. And the 3-year vision is so powerful for you to know what to start working on this week, this month, this year to get you closer to the vision that you have. And it's going to include hopefully more than just your business. In the book, I outline 6 core areas of life that you need to be a rebel in. Your work and your business is one of them. But there's also your time, how you manage your time, spend your time, your money, your relationships, your health, both physical and mental, and your spirituality. For it to be the best 3 years of your life, my guess is you're going to see life change in all 6 of those areas 3 years from now. So what is that change that you want to see? What is the vision? What does that look like? Is this helping you? It's a simple question, but it's a profound question. And I'm so grateful for Rich Litvin, because when he asks that question, that was probably the most useful vision prompt question I've ever had. And I've used it the last few years regularly. And that's why I'm sharing it with you here. It's why it's in my book. That's why I take my clients through it, because it's so profound and so helpful. I'm curious, if you're watching this right now on the YouTube version, you could even drop a comment and let me know what has come up for you, even in this moment. Is there a specific image that popped in your mind of what you're so grateful that has happened to make it the best 3 years of your life? Is there a specific outcome that's come up? We need to get clear on the specific outcomes we want in our life. Otherwise, we will drift. And then, like Alice and the Cheshire Cat, it won't matter which road we take because we're not going anywhere. And I don't want that to be you. So here's what I want for you. I want you to have the courage to dream big, dream specific, have a vision for your life, because you're never going to drift your way to your best life. You're never going to wander your way into your best 3 years of your life. It's just not going to happen. Now, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control, but it is amazing how when you have a clear vision, opportunities tend to reveal themselves. And I want to end with the story in a meta kind of way of how this book even happened. 4.5 years ago, it doesn't matter when, during COVID, middle of COVID, right? The pandemic. and we're all questioning our lives. Is this the life I wanted? Which is one of the powerful things that came out of the pandemic for so many people is they started to question the prescribed path of conformity that they were on. Is this the vision I have for my life, or is this the vision I've just been on, someone else's vision? And so for me, one of the things that came up was this idea that I've been kicking around for a while that, hey, I want to be an author. I want to be an author. And I want to write books that matter, meaningful thought leadership books. And I want to speak on stages, big stages, to tens of thousands of people all over the world and help them have light bulb moments that help them change their lives for the better. In business, yes, but also in life. I had this beautiful vision. So I got really clear on what I wanted to be true. And I knew in the next 3 years, I wanted to write and publish my first book with a traditional publisher. I didn't want to self-publish because everything I do is self-published. My videos, my podcast, there is no one telling me what to do. There's no one seeing if it's any good. There's no one editing it. It's just me and my ideas. And instantly it's out. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. So I knew for a book, I wanted to have a traditional publisher that was going to challenge me because they have skin in the game. They have money on the line. They're going to challenge me on the title. They're going to challenge me on the content inside the book. They're going to challenge me on the marketing plan. They're going to challenge me on editing, everything, all of that. So I had that vision. It's amazing when you have a clear vision, what starts to happen. 2 years later, my first book, How to Get Paid For It, hit the bookshelves, hit the stores. It's even in Barnes & Noble, right? It opened doors to be featured on CNBC Make It, to be on big podcasts, to be on the news, literally on CNBC on their Monday night program, to talk about the book, to talk about the model of the business that I've been teaching. At this moment, we've sold probably 30,000 copies. I know at least 25,000 copies. My next royalty statement from the publisher is about to come out in a month or two, and we'll probably be well north of 30,000 copies of that first book. It opened doors to speak. It opened doors to connect with cool people, which led me to a mastermind I joined and a conversation with John Gordon, best-selling author of The Energy Bus, of The Carpenter, of The One Truth. He's sold millions of copies of books. He's a world-class speaker. And I connected with him. And because I had a vision of what I wanted to do, I said, hey, here's a guy doing my vision. Like, I want to write and sell millions of copies of books like him. And I want to be on the biggest stages, making the kind of money he's making, and being as good as he is as a speaker, the way he is. I love the way he motivates and inspires and gives actionable tools for people. He's specifically in the positivity and leadership space. So I had this conversation with him. And because I had a vision, when I met him, I knew what I needed to go ask him. And we talked about writing and speaking. And then I followed up with him a month later, and I begged him to come spend some time with me, spend a few hours with me here in Tampa. He lives in Florida too. Come over to Tampa and coach me on how to become a speaker. Well, I had no idea that the day he was going to come help me think through my speaking career, we were going to get a new idea for this book. The whole concept for Rebel dropped in our laps 2 hours into our conversation. I wasn't even thinking about my second book. I was literally 10 months removed from my first book being published. And he kept pressing me on, what's the message of your second book? And I said, I don't know. And so we went through this whole process, and all of a sudden, this whole idea and the framework all came to me like lightning in a bottle. And he said, you need to pitch this to your publisher. I was like, bro, I don't know if they're going to sign this. They signed me as a business author. This is more of a personal development book. And he said, trust me, pitch to your publisher. I think this is good. So 5 days later, I didn't even have a full proposal. I didn't have time to write a full proposal. So I did a one-pager, synopsis, framework, concept, working title. Boom. They said, I love it. Let's sign it. When can you get the manuscript in? I said, oh my gosh, I got to write this thing. And you can see how this process went. Vision around, I want to be an author, speaker, wrote my first book, started speaking. Then when I meet someone that's doing the thing that my vision is all about, I'm keyed into it enough to make the relationship work, try to get the mentorship I need to help me with my vision. And then I'm like, well, if I want to be an author, I got to write more books. And so if this book idea came and the publisher likes it, let's go. And that was 18 months ago. And here we are, a week away from Rebel dropping, September 3rd. Find yourself by not following the crowd. John Gordon was kind enough to write the foreword to the book. Some incredible people have endorsed it. John Acuff, Dan Martell, David Nurse, on and on and on. Sean Cannell from Think Media. Just good people. Rory Vaden from Band Builders Group. This has been a wild ride of my vision coming true, primarily because I got clarity on what I wanted to be true in my life. The specifics are hard to control, but the vision, the outcome that I want to move towards, lets me know where to start moving and how to start running that race. Do you have a vision for your business, for your life? If you have an old vision, how current is it? Do you need to dust it off the shelf? Have you ever done the best 3 years of your life framework? If not, that's the question I want you to spend this week noodling on. Get out a document, get out a legal pad, and just answer the question, what would have to be true for you to tell me 3 years from now in this future where we meet that it's been the best 3 years of your life? Take note of what comes up. Don't rush the process. And once you see it on paper, you know what you need to do. If you want to be fulfilled in life, and I believe fulfillment is a product of 3 things. Success, so you want to be successful at it. Satisfaction, because Lord knows success and satisfaction are not the same thing. You can be successful and not satisfied. Success, satisfaction, and service to others, right? When you have all 3 of those, you're fulfilled. And what's at the white hot center of those 3? Your uniqueness. I can't tell you what success should look like. I can't tell you what should make you satisfied. I can't tell you how you can best serve people. Only you can. And when you embrace your uniqueness, all 3 of those things are going to happen. You're going to be more successful. You're going to have more satisfaction in all that you're doing. And you're going to be of more service to more people. Powerful stuff. Don't we all want that? That's what getting clear on your vision is going to help you do. I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, go pre-order a copy right now, Rebel. I'll leave the link in the show notes below. If you've already been one of those really kind and loving people that has pre-ordered a copy, would you do me a favor? This really, really helps. Go pre-order a second copy for a friend or a family member and have it shipped to their house, right? Just do it. They need this book. It's only $25. It can change their life. It'll change your life. It's going to help me as I'm making a run at the bestseller lists and trying to get this message out to more people. More importantly, let's friggin' go. And next week is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go live and we're going to do an entire launch party live here on YouTube. So you don't want to miss that. Subscribe to the channel, get notifications so you don't miss it when I go live, because you'll be able to have a chance to ask me questions. We're going to hang out and do this thing in real time. Friend, thank you for your time. Thank you for going on this journey with me. My hope and prayer is that you literally become a rebel. Say, forget conformity. I'm going to figure out who the heck I am, why I'm here, and we're going to walk into life with more fulfillment and more impact. Let's friggin' go. I'll see you in another episode real soon.